This is a stack of, they were 8 foot long, 1x2 common pine. I cut them into 4 foot lengths. Roll a 4 foot by 50 foot chicken wire. And this is the final product. So I'm measuring out where to put these are going to be all white with a red stripe down the center that way. I want to know how wide to make them, so I measured off some of our other lighted presents, and it looks like the stripe for the ribbon is 25 or 20%. So I want 20% of the total width. 48 inches is 9.6 inches. I rounded down to 9. So I measured halfway and then 4.5 inches on either side. Did that top and the bottom, and we'll just run white lights between here and the edge the whole way up. Red in the center and white on the other side. So this chicken wire is 1 inch wide mesh, and I've got 68 foot long white lights for each side. So that's 43.5 inches. So every 2.5 inches, I'll have another run. So that'll be 2.5 chicken wire meshes all the way over to here, and then again red and then white on the other side for all 3. Here's the bow that I'm going to use. It's from Home Depot. It's pretty good size. I don't remember what exactly they call it. There's nothing on the back. There's a label under here. There it is, 24-inch weighted bow. Lighted red tinsel bow. There's the final one that I made last night. It's red, pretty much the width of my fingers, red the whole way up, and then white on the sides. It glows pretty well. And here's one that's in progress. All the lights are on except for the bow. I'm going to do that now. So take one of these. Get rid of that trash. Get rid of this trash. Maybe sharpen my knife someday. There we go. And when I laid these out with the lights, the first one I did, I know at some point I mentioned I was doing 2.5 inch spacing. My math was all wrong. So the first one I did 2.5 inch spacing for my first run up and back and up and back, and I'd use less than half of my white lights. These are 68 foot 300 strand incandescent white lights. I used less than half of them until I got over to my red, which I got a little tick line right there for where my red will be. So then my father-in-law was helping me at the time, so we went back and basically split the difference. So it ended up being 1.25-inch spacing. Really, what it started off as was 1, 2.5, which these are 1 inch, like I said earlier. So 1, 2.5 inch spacing, and then when I did the second row, it was 1.5. Or more or less split the difference down the middle of whatever was there. I'll show you when I do the next one a little bit better what I'm talking about. Anyway, so when you lay these out, you got to make sure you've got a plug at one end, which I've got a female plug on that corner. Ideally, you'd have a male plug on the opposite corner. Or, I'm sorry, that's a male-female. Ideally, you'd have another plug on the opposite corner, which we do. We can, I think if I needed to plug something into that, I could. And then you need a plug somewhere in the middle to hook your bow up to, which we do. That's I know it's hard to see in this light, but that's a male-female into a female. And the bow has quite a line on it here. It's all taped up. I'm trying to show something. I mean, that's fairly long. That's a little better view. It's probably 24-inch or so cord. So no matter what, as long as you've got a plug somewhere on your frame, you'll probably be okay. So the way I'm going to do this, the way I did the first one, again, because these are supposed to look like presents, so I'll stand this up, and then I'll take my bow and my long longer zip ties. See, this bow has this handy ring on the back of it. So I'll line up the bow with my center line. Of my red, which is right there. So just trust me, the center line of the red is that point. So I'll line my bow up. I'll end up zip tying from here down to about there, just onto the mesh, and then from there down to about there, and that'll hold this up a little bit because you want it to sit. As you can see, on top of the present, so it looks like it's a bow on top of a present, not not down in that area where it's just a bow in front of a box with a white stripe or red stripe on it. So I'm gonna do that. I'll just show you the result when I'm done. So there it is, zip tied on. Like I said, those zip ties being down like that actually hold this up pretty well. It tilts back a little bit, but you can't tell once it gets hung up. You know, the wall will push that back forward a little bit. Turn the whole thing around. Tuck that down in. I got a rogue light, doesn't want to stay where it's supposed to. So you got to kind of tassel your ribbon down how you want it nice. But that's the product there. I'm going to start on this other one. Before I do that, I'm thinking think about how I want to hang this. This one is going to go on that window there. That one was easier with those shutters. There's I'll walk right over to show you. I'm using lightweight string and just wrapping it around. I'm not going to do it because it's hard to get off. Wrapping it around those pins. This is all plastic shutters from Home Depot as well. Plastic pins you just drill into your, this is brick, drill into your brick, and then I think they've got a screw anchor, but I'm not sure. One of those little plastic jobs you pound in. Maybe not though, and then you just push these in, and they've got, you know, barbs on them, and they hold in nice. I mean, these are solid on there. But I've just got string wrapped around the zip tie. Basically, there's a zip tie around I think around the frame up top with a little slack, and I can run my string around. I've got it wrapped around there a few times, down, you know, obviously this would be at the top, down around that zip tie and tied apparently. And then the tail comes over here just to help me, you know, get a little more friction on it. I went around this one as well and tied the string off there. You can see that up there. I did that on the other corner. It's I'll probably end up tying this back at some point. Probably just use one of these maybe, so it doesn't flop around. Anyway, I got to think about how to hang this one on this other window. It does not have shutters. I don't want to drill into this air stone stuff. I can. You know, it's not going to hurt anything. I don't want to if I don't have to though. So I got to think about how to hang that. I guess I'm going to start on that third one now, and I'll get up on the ladder a little later when I got to hang. The third one's going over on this window here. So we'll have 3 giant presents hanging out in the front of the house.